Hello everyone, it's Mr. Kralachek again, continuing on our work with the descriptive paper, part 2. We just got done looking at 3 topic ideas and asking questions about them, really centering on sensory details, but also emotional feeling, the impressions that these things leave on you. So you can review that last video if you want to see all that. But I'm going to start putting all of these questions and the answers to these questions in paragraph format. So you see me writing here. My wife Brittany has brown eyes and dark hair. I'm taking a second to think. Long and flowing. It cascades down her shoulders. Just me being a little flourishing with my language. She's a very lovely woman. She's my wife, of course. Now, I'm just writing down ideas as they come to me. This does not necessarily have to be a final draft. But look how I'm talking about description, and then I'm going how people's first impression of her. Certainly not a form that everyone has to do, but it's suitable, and it can help a lot to start that way. Now I'm talking about her in certain situations. When you first meet her, your first impression. Very quiet in large groups. You probably know someone like that. Her whole body tenses up. Really think of all the different ways you could describe them. Body tensing up. When they look down, imagine a person looking down, afraid to make eye contact when they're with you. But as she gets to know you, she will be one of the most energetic people you meet. Again, probably someone you know. But it's just a good way of varying up, because I don't want to give too one-dimensional of a description of this woman. She leaves a strong impression when she does this. It can be jarring or difficult for a lot of people who get used to her as a quiet girl, and then she has just very strong opinions about some things, and it has a lot of passion over something. So cool way. Notice how I'm moving my cursor back up. She has a slender body and a round face, but a pointed chin. Why did I move that back up to the first paragraph? Partly because I want to keep it in line with what I was writing. Start with a physical description, and then more thoughts of a physical description came to me as I was writing, so I went back up to the first paragraph where I had that. It was more consistent that way. Now I'm starting a description of an object. Going to give you a couple paragraphs here now too. It has the image of stars against space, or plates strewn across a dinner table. It is earthy. It is celestial. A great deal of impressions can be drawn from the painting in my office. Notice how I went about that introduction. I didn't tell for a few sentences what the subject of the paper was, but I was describing it beforehand. Kind of leaves a cool effect. With this one, you're seeing a lot of symbolism going on here, or a lot of metaphorical language. I'm likening it to clockwork being magnified, the inner workings of a watch. So then I'm talking about how that metaphor affects me, that it looks like clockwork, so it makes me think about the time as I'm working. It makes it very fitting for an office. Then I'm moving on to what other people might think. Have impressions of hope and happiness. Others can see drifting despair. It depends on if your attention rests on the silver glow of the plates or the darkness they fade into. In the right room, it's somber and reflective. If it were surrounded by similar paintings, it would be very dark and gloomy. Imagine how I'm not just describing this picture, I'm also putting it in different situations and saying, wow, we would interpret it differently by what's surrounding it. Especially what room it is. It could be elegant, it could be somber, or it could just be depressing. Depends on what's around it, defines so much of it. Alright, now I'm talking about the street corner. Abuzz with life during business hours, and it has whispers of men and women in the later night, when all should be asleep. Ooh, clever start, classy. It's right outside Walmart. talking about the people, giving a nice little introduction to this. Very unassuming, it's very ordinary until you realize the stories that surround it. You can describe something based off of the stories that occur in a place. On muggy days, you'll see people lightly clad, wearing, warmer clothes, passing by hurriedly, which I thought was a word, but now I'm not sure because of the squiggly line, going back in a hurry, impatient to get home and out of the heat. Alright. So starting with this description of the place, of the people going by, really getting a good feel for what this place is by the people in it. And now I'm going into really the crux of what I want to say for this particular essay. I have a friend that has a strong emotional reaction whenever he sees that street corner. That was where his father died. One sentence paragraph, but it's awesome. The pacing just gives it such heavy weight. So this is just very quickly giving you some descriptions of 3 things in paragraph form. Very easily expanded upon. I just have 1,000 thoughts right now for each of these. It just takes practice. It takes a lot of thought to come up with a lot of new and unique ways of going about it. But what I want you to notice here is that I'm going about the whole narrative, the structure of the paper in 3 distinct styles. In the image of my wife, this description of my wife, I'm really just describing her. I'm putting in these different places, and there's not much outside the description. There's nothing I really want you to get out of it. I just want you to understand who my wife is. With the painting, it's more like I'm reacting to it. I'm musing at it, giving all these symbols. It's not as much descriptive as it is symbolic, metaphorical. And the last is me telling you a story. Telling you a story about my friend's father dying and his reaction to this place. All are very appropriate for descriptive writing, and they all accomplish a different purpose. So play with those as you consider your own methods of descriptive writing, and play with it. Have fun. Thanks for listening.